Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I'm lucky enough to chat with actor Kirk Acevedo. Born and raised in the Bronx, Kirk landed his first great role as Alvarez on HBO's prison drama Oz. But since then, we've seen him on everything from Fringe, 12 Monkeys, Arrow, and much more. Kirk is one of my favorite actors, and I was so happy to get to chat with him about his memories of Oz, his long career, and much more. It's a great interview, and I hope you enjoy.
Hey, Kirk.
Hey, what's up, brother?
Hey, thank you so much for making time today, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
You've always been one of those actors where any show I'm watching, I could be on the fence about it and go, oh, no, they had the good sense to cast Kirk. Yeah, we're going to give this a few more episodes. Like, you turn up on almost all my favorite stuff.
Oh.
When I told my wife that I was going to be interviewing you, and the first, she was like, oh, from Fringe and Ramsey, and like she just started rattling off, and that's more my nerddom. It's not so much her forte. So it's always great when I'm excited about interviewing somebody, and she's like, oh yeah, that guy. I usually like to ask people when they got bit by the bug or into acting or whatever. But from what I understand, you were a kid that always liked performing, and were kind of always into it. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I went to junior high school performing arts, high school performing arts, and then to a conservatory. But I kind of knew at a young age what I wanted to do. But I didn't really get it until junior high. And I went to East Harlem Performing Arts, and I got into a fight with a kid, and that kid got suspended. And so he was doing a part in the Peanuts Christmas. So as punishment, I had to take over his part as the Peanuts, as play Linus. And sorry. The Mad Hatter. Sorry, totally wrong. To play the Mad Hatter, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, all that stuff. And I actually remember this. I remember I wasn't directed to do this, but I got on because it was boring. It just felt boring and no one was laughing. And I was like, oh, fuck. So I jumped in the chair and I started singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, but doing it like a burlesque, like I'm stripping. And so I was like, twinkle, twinkle, little. I was doing that. And then like shaking my hips. And everyone started dying laughing. And a bell, like, just sort of, went on, rang, like a light went off. It's like, oh, I could do this, and this happens. It was actually like a very pivotal moment. And so I did that in other parts. As a young kid, not knowing what I'm doing or anything, I was like, oh, so I'm very big into ad-libbing, and a lot of people, especially in TV, don't appreciate that, but,
So, I mean, it sounds like it was fun almost immediately to be on stage. Do you remember...
Instant attention.
Do you remember first time that it was suddenly difficult, where you hit a point where you got a role where you went, oh, crap, I can't ham this. Like, this is hard to emote.
The jobs you get are, it's a fine line because someone always gives you a job. You have this thing, because people have this romanticized idea, especially actors, unfortunately, that you get what you deserve or your time will happen. That's not necessarily true, my friend. I know it's just a nice way of looking at things, the glass half full. And I'll get back to your question. But the hardest for me are things that are similar to myself are very difficult to do. Whereas I'm a character actor that doesn't necessarily get to play characters a lot. So, I was up for Pennywise for the, Stephen King book, the films. Mm-hmm. So it's me and Skarsgård went all the way down, a months long process. And I got Insidious 4 off of Blumhouse seeing that tape. So I've gotten other jobs off of this tape. Mm-hmm. And people are like, oh my God, how did you do this? And I go, the first monologue is 3 takes. The second one's 1 take. I go, it wasn't hard. They go, what are you talking about? I go, horror is my genre. I love horror. So I understand that tone. But that was the first horror audition I ever went in on. So, for me, I don't want to be myself. That's why we got into acting, so I could be something else. So, but difficult things for me are things that are close to myself. Say I have to be like a Puerto Rican from the Bronx who's an anti-hero. That should be very easy for me. Hard. Because I second guess myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see it almost being like trying to do your own accent. Like you're just going to sound weird.
Right. Do I use my own voice? Do I really, sound like this? Or do I put an affected thing? Because you're looking at it from, like, you're playing like 4D chess in a way, because not only you're breaking down the performance, you're breaking down the script, you're breaking down the story, but you're also looking at how the audience is going to see it, or how it's going to affect people politically, socially. That there's so many other different, nuances that you throw into it. Not for everything, mm-hmm. but for, I definitely like to think about how someone watching it would feel about this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oz, I think, is one of the first places that I really marked you as a character or as an actor. Like, okay, this guy's compelling on screen. Oz was also, I think, one of the first shows that I wanted to binge watch and was so tense. I mean, this is when we didn't even have a phrase for binge watching yet, but, I'm DVDs. But it was so intense, I'd hit like 2 episodes or 3 episodes and be like, honey, do we have anything illegal in this house? Because I cannot go to jail. I could see that almost feeling a bit like the same tone as horror. I mean, the danger is very real in that show, even though it's a drama. Can you talk a bit about getting that character and kind of getting into that role? I could see it being a bit like a villain and kind of delicious to play, but also being weird to put the tools down.
Yeah. I mean, a part of me, that part was originally offered to someone else, that, from what I was told, and that they were still holding auditions. And I remember going, why am I auditioning for somebody? But I didn't understand, people fall out, deals don't get done. Like, I didn't understand the nuance of it all. And went in, and they had 10 actors ahead of me. So it was like a freaking cattle call. And the scene was a very volatile scene, yelling and yada, yada. And every single actor went in there and they were fucking yelling. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what the scene was, right? But I go, it doesn't matter how well I'm going to do it. Your ears get tone deaf to hearing the same thing over and over. So I was like, fuck. Because you could hear it through the door. And they're coming in one out of the other. I'm like, no one's chatting. No one, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And if I go in and out, it's bad. Like, it's just bad. And I said, I'm just going to do something totally different, and just make it softer and subtle. And it worked. And I was in there and talking to people. Why'd you play it this way? I was like, because everybody else was young.
Yeah.
And so, and it worked. So, I mean, part of it is that show was so heavy, to answer your question, that like me and Adewale and all the guys, when we had like emotional scenes, we would just crack jokes because it just was too heavy to carry the whole day through, like waiting to do that scene, and you have to be in the zone.
Mm-hmm.
Like do that in high school and college, right? You carry it with you, and all that, and it doesn't work. You get burnt out, and so it's best just to keep it light, and it worked on the set that way. Crack jokes constantly because we had to keep it light because everything was just so heavy. People getting raped and and stuff.
It's a brutal show. Yeah,
brutal show. So to answer your question, I just think we enjoyed each other's company and trusted each other. That it was easier than what people would think. But having said that, that's probably the only show I wish I could go back and redo almost all my performances.
Really?
Yeah. I just know it was like my first job.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a theater guy. So, and theater was like my home. It was a different medium.
Mm-hmm.
I understood it. I understood what was real. You know what I mean? You sweat in theater, literally and figuratively. So when you sweat, you're working. It's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where this, I go, oh, I get to go again? Oh, it changes everything.
Yeah.
In theater, you can't start over. There's no reset. So in theater, if I don't hit it, then I got to hit it in the next page and a half. I got to somehow recover. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's every night. So you'll get a joke here when they were crying yesterday at that same point, because the energy is different from the audience and what you get back. Where that's not the case with TV and film. So I didn't realize, like, TV and film, there's a cheat. There is. And actors won't say it, but there is a cheat because you got video playback. Go watch what you did.
Yeah.
Oh, no, do this, throw a look there and stuff like that. I don't like watching any of that stuff because I'm self-conscious, but I just didn't know the medium as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
And I think it would have helped my performance better. And I don't know if you noticed, but from the first season to the second and third season, my character totally changed because originally I was only supposed to do like 1 or 2 episodes or like 3. I don't remember, but I was not a regular. And then they made me a regular after the first season. And so once I got comfortable, and I should have been comfortable from the beginning. So my performance changed from something that was maybe a little bit more atypical stereotype in the first season to somebody that was a little bit more just introspective and sad. And I didn't do that so much in the first season. So
I could see it, make your TV and film performances different, like learning that shift in craft.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it, seeing that difference, do you feel like it made your theater, your stuff with Rorschach Company, do you feel like it made that change as well? Kind of understanding that?
No, because that's what I went to, I did that in conservatory. I mean, that's what we did. We did theater. There was no on film, on camera training like they do now. They do that now. Mm-hmm. I would say they've done that the last 15 years. Behind the camera, your mark being mic'd, you don't have to, you could be, if I just talk like this to you right there, with a mic, I could just whisper. Changes everything. Yeah. In theater, you can't do that.
Yeah, I
got to reach the back row.
Yeah.
Right. And still make it realistic. Whereas, there's this connotation that bigger is the acting is not as well. It's not as good as, you know what I mean? But like to quote Tim Roth or Gary Oldman, bigger ain't bad because those guys are big.
Yeah.
And they're fucking great. And so's you look at Daniel Day-Lewis. He's not afraid of being big, man.
Yeah.
So Gangs of New York, he's very big.
Yeah.
He's very,
Yeah, that milkshake scene's not small. Yeah.
It's not small. So, I mean, so for the theater, it doesn't really translate. I can't really take anything from the theater and put it to TV or film, or vice versa. Because it's more subtle. You can't really, subtlety in theater is non-existent, really.
One of my favorite roles you've gotten to do, another podcast I run, or did run, talked about one season canceled shows, just gems that should have been continued on. Black Donnelly's is still one of my favorite things that I try to get folks to watch anytime I can. And I feel like it epitomized the kind of characters I love seeing you play. People that on paper are villains in this show, but that I understand that they're making moves in the context of this show. They're not what I'd call evil. They're but at the same time, you're getting to do some bad stuff. Can you talk a little bit about what kind of roles you like to play and what you find interesting as an actor?
Yeah, I mean, I did like the way Ramsey turned.
Yeah.
In that end of the first season, when he was, it's so funny because people said, "Oh, Ramsey was a bad guy." I was like, I don't know what show you were watching. How is he bad? He's trying to save his son.
Yeah. Somewhere else, there's another show that's just Ramsey from his point of view, and Cole is an asshole. Yeah.
Right. Well, but think about it. Cole just met this woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's my son. So I mean, if we're, who has the moral high ground, or if we're judging moral high ground, I mean, I think I have the moral high ground here, but I do like playing bad guys that you root for. I do like that. I do think you can't, like if you think of a bad guy and I think of like Schindler's List, right? Like Amon Goethe, right? Ray Fiennes, right? He's fucking brilliant. And he was brilliant because of those scenes when he's trying to be good. Do you know what scenes I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. He's like, I forgive you. I absolve you. And he's doing all this stuff. And you see him trying. And there's that moment there that he is relatable because we've all been in that situation. Forget about historically. Just forget about that. Because I can't relate to being a Nazi that kills people, right? But what I'm saying is when you're trying to be good, you're trying to change yourself for the better, or not for the better, but for whatever reason, and you can't. That's relatable. You have to play bad guys that we can relate to. They're not just bad because they're bad.
Yeah. Something
happened to change them. Their perspective is valid to them. So, but I do, like playing those parts or anything that's, anything horror. I do anything horror. Oh, Lord.
Well, man, I can't thank you enough for taking time to talk to me about all this today.
My pleasure,
bro. Like I say, you've been one of my favorite people to watch on TV and movies for years, from Thin the Red Line to Arrow, all of it.
I appreciate that.
Really can't thank you enough.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure, brother.
TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.